Let's take a look at what's happening across the world now in a special segment called Speed. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will arrive in India today for a 6-day visit. First by an Israeli Prime Minister in 15 years, Netanyahu will hold his first official meeting with the External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. Prime Minister Modi will also host a dinner for him later in the day. Two days after 4 Supreme Court judges went public with their grievances and triggered a judicial crisis, reports emerged that Chief Justice of India may meet the dissenting judges today to resolve the crisis. After the controversy, the two judges, Justice Joseph Kurian and Justice Ranjan Gogoi, sought to play the issue. Several contractual teachers, including women, shaved their heads in India's central Madhya Pradesh state, demanding regularization of their jobs and equal wages. Teachers from across the state came together for a protest in the capital city of Bhopal and raised slogans against the government. Indian Navy and Coast Guard continue search and rescue operations for 2 persons who are still missing after a helicopter crash off the coast of Mumbai on Saturday. So far, 5 bodies have been recovered from the sea, and the bodies have been transferred by ONGC MSV Hull Annam to Juhu. Delhi's 3 school children were killed in India's western Dahanu town and 135 kilometers away from Mumbai on Saturday after a boat carrying at least 40 students capsized. All 3 were killed, in fact were girls in that, and the remaining students were rescued by alert onlookers and teams of the Indian Coast Guard. People in parts of North India celebrated the harvest festival of Lohri with much fanfare of bonfires were lit all over the country. People danced to drum beats and sang songs. The festival of Lohri marks the harvesting of winter crops and holds immense significance for the farmers. It also marks the beginning of the Sikh New Year. Devotees thronged the Kamakhya temple, a revered Hindu shrine in India's eastern Assam state, the eve of harvest festival of Makar Sankranti. It is celebrated as Magh Bihu in Assam, and Makar Sankranti marks the Uttaranya, the sun's 6-month journey towards northern hemisphere, which is corresponding with the beginning of a longer days of sunlight and is one of the most auspicious days for Hindus as well. A photo exhibition was held in India's eastern holy town of Bodh Gaya, depicting the oppressive Chinese rule in Tibet. The exhibition was organized by an exiled Tibetan, Sonam Dorji. He said the exhibition was aimed at bringing out the truth of Tibet. Let's see what's happening around the world now. Chelsea Manning, a transgender US Army soldier who served 7 years in military prison for leaking classified data, is seeking the Democratic Party's nomination for the US Senate seat from Maryland. The US Military Specific Command has clarified that the ballistic missile attack message to Hawaii residents was flashed erroneously and there is no threat to the island. The erroneous alert was flashed by Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. Oppositions of a German Grand Coalition took to streets urging members of their Social Democratic Party to vote against forming a coalition with Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservatives for another 4 years. The party's cadre is wary of its leaders' call for the party to set up for the sake of Germany's stability. Anti-globalization demonstrators took to the streets of Swiss capital to protest against a planned visit by US President Donald Trump to the World Economic Forum this month. Trump announced last week that he would attend the World Economic Forum in Davos, an annual meeting of global business and political leaders. The Greek island of Lesbos, Samos and Chios have been known for the generosity for receiving refugees from the Middle East in 2 years after they started to enter Europe in summer of 2015. However, there is a rising voice of repulsion from local residents lately, despite there is still widespread sympathy for the refugees' plight. Tunisia's plan to increase support for poor families and needy people by some $70 million, dollars after protests broke out in North African country. Protesters, and some of them even violent, and moved on Monday against the austerity measures such as increasing of taxes and prices imposed by the government to cut a budget deficit. Protesters took to the streets of Vienna calling for members of Austria's new right-wing government to be boycotted by the rest of Europe. Around 20,000 people, according to police estimates, gathered to protest against the new coalition government, which includes the far-right Freedom Party founded by former Nazis. Hundreds of Poles gathered in front of the Parliament building in Warsaw, Poland, to protest against the proposals for tighter restrictions on abortion, which is debated by the lawmakers this week. And Wednesday as well, the lower house decided to take up work on a bill that would ban abortions in the case of irreversible damage to the fetus, removing the main legal recourse that the Polish women had to obtain, in fact could have obtained, for a termination they wanted. Palestinian protesters clashed with Israeli soldiers in the village of Nabi Saleh in the occupied West Bank on Saturday at a demonstration calling for the release of a 16-year-old Palestinian girl who was indicted this month for assaulting an Israeli soldier. The incident, for which the teenager Ahmed Tamimi was charged and has been made a hero in Palestine, and in fact was sent as Palestinians were sent humiliating messages by right-wing Israelis as well. More than 100 Houthi-affiliated women gathered in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a to show their support to the Iran-allied groups' fight against the Saudi-led coalition. The women, accompanied by children, carried AK-47s and rocket-propelled grenade launchers, chanting pro-Houthi and anti-Saudi slogans. The incumbent Czech President Miloš Zeman and the Science Academy former head Jiří Drahos will advance to the second round of Czech presidential elections, according to 99% of ballots which were counted. Zeman had 38.6% of the votes, and his competitor Drahos had around 26.6%, with the other 7 candidates all below 11%. The turnout of the vote was 61.74%. Edgar Reichlin, the preacher and Ku Klux Klan, who had been convicted and sent to prison for more than 40 years after he piloted the 1964 slaying of 3 civil rights activists in the Mississippi burning case, died at the age of 92. The cause and the manner of the death were pending an autopsy right now, but no foul play was suspected. Russia deployed a new division of the S-400 surface-to-air missiles in Crimea in an escalation of military tensions in Crimean Peninsula. Russian annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014, triggering economic sanctions by the European Union and the United States, and a tense standoff in the region. 2 people were injured as a tram caught fire in Odessa in Ukraine. The tram, with the capacity to hold over 100 passengers, was full when the fire struck. Eyewitnesses reported panic and distress after the driver was unable to open the tram doors, restoring into passengers, in fact, stuck inside the tram to break to the windows and to jump outside to escape the flames then. The Venezuelan government and opposition began their second round of talks to find solutions to the country's ongoing crisis in Santo Domingo. Chile, as well as Mexico, sent representatives at a request of the opposition, and Bolivia, Nicaragua, St. Vincent, as well as the Grenadines were also invited to the meeting by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. South Africa wants to attract foreign investors to help kickstart economic growth and eradicate poverty, as well as the will to crack down on corruption. And the new leader of the ruling African National Congress said on Saturday, Cyril Ramaphosa, who won the race to succeed President Jacob Zuma as the ANC leader, just last month made the comments in a speech to mark the 106 years since the founding of Africa's oldest liberation movement. Protesters were angered by a racist H&M advertisement that ransacked several of the Swedish fashion group's South African stores. The economic freedom fighters protested and targeted 6 H&M stores in Gauteng province, where South Africa's economic hub of Johannesburg is located, tearing down shop displays and throwing clothes around. Tempers flared in the streets of in fact, in the streets of one of the cities in Honduras, as opposition supporters and riot police has traded rocks and water cannon amidst protesters over the recent re-election. President Juan Orlando Hernandez in the November 26 vote has been marred by accusations of electoral fraud, sparking protests in Honduras, which is one of the world's highest murder rates. A fire in the early hours of Saturday scorched Lima's 131-foot Christ of the Pacific statue. Just days of a visit by Pope Francis, the fire left soot marks covering one of the side of the statue that overlooks the Pacific Ocean from a hill in Lima. Now, police confirmed to the local media that the fire was caused by electric malfunction and no foul play has been suspected right now. On Saturday, Chile's capital, Santiago, was busily putting the finishing touches on the preparations for the visit of Pope Francis, who hails from Argentina and is the first Latin American Pope as well, who will arrive in Chile on Monday. As that he has planned to hold on Tuesday in Santiago Park is expected to attract more than 500,000 people. Singing the famous sports song, Oh Ya Ilai, for Saudi Arabia. In fact, for the Saudi Al Hilal Pro League soccer team, a group of Saudi women entered the gates of the King Fahad Stadium in Riyadh for the first time ever on Saturday to watch their team play. Al Ittihad women dressed in black painted their faces also with white and blue colours of their Al Hilal team. They didn't believe that their dream would become a reality. Thai children posed with life-sized portraits of Prime Minister, and as the cardboard figures of the Janata leader made an appearance at the annual Children's Day festival, and Thai barracks and government officials traditionally open their doors to children on the second Saturday of January, following kids to handle weapons and ride on military vehicles. Children visiting government houses also got a chance to sit in the Prime Minister's chair. Cleanup work is underway in Southern California after mudslides caused by a winter storm killed at least 18 people and injured 28 others on Tuesday. Emergency workers are currently cleaning up the debris from the destroyed houses and the massive builders brought by the mudslide. Strong winds fanned a bushfire just north of Australian city of Newcastle, threatening local properties as well as closing local airport. Now, firefighters and water-bombing aircrafts battled the blaze at Tomago, undertaking measures to protect the local properties, but reports suggest that there have been no loss to the property there now. La Meunier, a skiing resort located in southeast France's Savoy province, returned to normal by Friday after an avalanche hit the area on Tuesday. An avalanche swept across a nursery slope in the small resort, and fortunately no casualties were reported. Then storms left large number of snow and large volumes of snow on the southwestern Alps, but the ski station at an elevation of around 1,800 meters where the avalanche hit, everything else had returned to normal now. Chunks of ice floating in a canal in the United States was sighted on Wednesday. The ice chunks are a result of the ocean freezing in Cape Odds region earlier. A record-shattering Arctic cold front has frozen a large portion of the United States. The snow has had effect in the United States and had brought parts of the northeast into a standstill and were blamed for at least 18 deaths over the past several days now. Heavy snow continued to sweep western Japan, delaying the start of the annual college entrance examination at some venues affected by a strong cold front. And snow began hitting Niigata, area and the Hokuriku region on Thursday. Now, by Saturday noon, Niigata had been set up by 62 centimeters of snow, 8 times the accumulated snow in the previous years. Other regions have also seen 2 to 4 times of accumulated snow. Road traffic in these areas has been severely disrupted by this blizzard. The staff of Wetland Park in northwestern China's Xinjiang region, in fact, have been helping migratory birds to get food and water in frigid winter as the temperatures now plunge to minus 28 degrees Celsius and the lake in Manas National Wetland Park was covered with a thick tier of ice. The park staff dug a trench 15 meters long and 3 meters wide on the lake surface to provide waters for the birds. Dozens of women, some from as far as Montana and the United Kingdom, flied into Florida's Weeki Wachee Springs State Park, hoping to join its famed troupe of mermaids who regularly perform for hundreds of people. Though a cold snap seemed to have deterred some applicants, many did not want to miss the chance to audition there, and where in fact we see old mermaids have been a beloved attraction since the 1940s. Four British oarsmen set off flares in celebration when they arrived in Antigua to claim a new world record for rowing across the Atlantic. The foursome, Dickie Taylor, George Begar, Peter Robinson and Stuart Watts, known as the Four Oarsmen, landed at the English harbour on Antigua with their friends and welcomed their families in attendance. Were also there. And they had finished the line of what organisers call the world's toughest race. The Space's Dragon cargo spacecraft carrying supplies and scientific materials was successfully released from the International Space Station on Saturday. The SpaceX Dragon is set to return to Earth with a scheduled splash shadow in the Pacific Ocean. France's 5-month-old panda made its public debut on Saturday, delighting hundreds of visitors as it crawled, tumbled and cuddled with his mother. A small male cub, survivor of 2 babies born on August 4th last year, at the BUSHFIRE Zoo, about 250 kilometers south of Paris, was baptized last month as WION by his godmother, French First Lady Brigitte Macron. Panda Fafa in the Shenyang Forest Zoo is fascinated with his new red toy. The breeders in the zoo have prepared various toys for the national treasure. The efforts have paid off. Panda Fafa fell in love with the red new toy. And he kept playing with it and never felt bored. He even stuffed his meal, fresh bamboos inside the toy. Ed Sheeran, Liam Payne and Dua Lipa and Stormzy are among the nominees for the year's Brit Awards and Britain's most prestigious music prize. Sheeran is in the running in 4 categories: British Male Solo Artist, Best Video, the single for Shape of You and the Best Album.